when we hit and we feeling it sometimes, I want you to just fire that thing off, man, because it's like when we talk on the phone, bro. And this is where our energy first started with. It's like when we talk on the phone, you'll call me up sometimes. Hey, yo, James, yada yada yada, and next thing you know, we'll be on the phone for an hour and a half, just talking about everything, and it's so natural, it's so free flowing, and it's like, and I do know organization and structure for what we're trying to do. There comes a time and there needs to be organization and structure, but some of our best material is from when we're just catching up on something that yeah. Speaking of what you were saying, G, you know who does want to hear our conversation though?
Who's that?
This little guy right here. You see him?
Was it a bug?
You see it?
Not really. Oh, it's a turtle.
Yeah, a little baby turtle chilling up in here. I was like, oh, this is awesome. He's just hanging out.
Hell yeah.
He doesn't trust me yet. I wouldn't trust humans either. I told him that. I said, but I'm not going to do nothing to you, buddy. All them flies I've been killing in the house from having all my garden fruits and vegetables in there. I wish I had kept them. I'd be feeding them.
No kidding. He'd be loving that.
Man, it's good to see you though, G.
Yeah, it's good to hear back from you. One thing, like I said right before we started recording, and I was like, yeah, let me go ahead and start recording before we start putting too much good stuff, not have it record, start talking too much,
not have it record
good material and not have it recorded. So, I started off by saying the last time that we spoke on the podcast, it was me, you, and LT. I felt like you and LT had there were at least a couple of times where y'all were having a really good dialogue, and just me being in my own head, I was like trying to circle back to something that we hadn't completely finished talking about earlier. And so in my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to get back on track, but I interrupted y'all, and I felt like y'all could have taken it in a way that would have made like what we were just talking about more organic, not less structured. And y'all were going to take the conversation in a way where I feel like it might have circled back around naturally or organically anyway. So I just kind of upset at myself for interrupting y'all at least a couple of times where I was like, what the fuck, G? Let them roll. So I do want to have a pod actually. I thought about it after listening to that episode where it's just you and LT, and I'm listening, I'm there, but I'm only going to interject if I feel like y'all aren't hearing each other or there's like a third perspective that needs to be heard.
It might be some of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially it definitely
I get
will
better
with
my active listening too, because that's something that I know I'm actively working on it as in life and as a human, as someone who's trying to learn and grow and evolve, is getting better with actively listening. Not, like, yeah, I hear it, I've digested it, and now I can spit something back out based off what you actually said, not kind of how I know my mind works sometimes. But G, I also want to say there's really no need to be upset with yourself, because remember what you said. One of your visions for this was, hey, let's one episode for the next episode, we'll go back and we'll touch on that. We'll make those corrections. We'll hone back into and that would leave the door open for that. Hey, I cut you off here. You look like you were trying to say this. Do you know the part I'm talking about?
The one that immediately comes to mind is when y'all, I think we were talking about music or we were talking about something related, but LT brought up the Kid Cudi wearing the dress situation. And then y'all were about to start talking about that. And I kind of was like, well, hold up, I don't want to finish this thought. And then when I actually listened to the pod, I was like, damn, that was definitely a time where I should have let them run with that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. The gangster, it reminds me of the Gangstalicious episode on the Boondocks. And it's so funny how Aaron Magruder was so craftfully skilled at taking things that he could see happening or is being talked about in circles as, hey, you notice that this is why they're doing this is why you're starting to see that happening here, and expounding on it in a funny, animated, and creative way. And to this day, man, they really silenced a genius. Seriously, like there are a lot of geniuses out here, but they really did silence somebody who was so good at taking stuff in our culture, but in all cultures, but specifically in our culture, and speaking to it. Because, and I said this to I said this over the weekend to someone, G. I said, we all as a people are under attack in one way, form, or another. You know, now we're all in this virus thing together, or the pandemic and COVID and all this stuff together. But there are demographics of people that they do aim certain agendas and propaganda and things toward.
It's more obvious than ever.
One of them. More obvious than ever. The feminization of the Black male, the breaking up of the Black family, the you know, hey, people, you know, it is what it is. You know what we do on this week. We chop it up and we keep it real. And I don't have anything against people's lifestyles. I have my own lifestyles, as you know, but when you know that there are when you know that there is a specific type of people under attack, for you more so than even like demonizing it or whatever, more so start to ask yourselves the question of why. You know, why is this being aimed at the Black community, at Black men specifically? Why do they need to show that in hip hop? You know, why do they need to show that in with our you know, males and artists that get pushed, that have the machine behind them to push certain looks, agenda, fashion, words, you know, statements, stuff like that. So I'm sure that's where that conversation would have went to, is just
but I would have liked to
the
hear that
question
from
of
both of y'all. It would have been better if it was both of y'all talking about it without not me and you.
And I get a lot of flack sometimes. I got flack over the weekend because it's like, well, you know this and you speak on this, but then you'll go listen to certain artists that do that. And that's a good point. Hey, nobody's perfect, you know. We all are a little hypocritical. I try not to be, you know. But at the same token, my answer to that is, well, I'm not really saying right or wrong about anything. I'm pointing out facts, though. I'm pointing out places where you can go and you can read the programs and the agendas that have been written in paper, you know, that have been written and typed out as reported to have programs that are meant to do this and supposed to do this.
Right.
And
so two things I want to take away from what we've already said. One, when we were talking about listening and active listening, I feel like what you did say, but I think to maybe put it in a different way to help maybe somebody else digest what you were trying to say there.
Yes.
Is I feel like there's levels to listening. Like you can just hear it at a very surface level, right? And there's I'm going to break it down into 3 levels, but I think it's more like a spectrum where it could be 1,000 infinite levels, but just like 3 levels to kind of give an idea of the way that I think of listening. Is like there's a very surface level listening where you're just like, you're not really listening. You're just kind of hearing what they say and you're trying to formulate a response to get through the situation. And that's pretty much that. Then there's the listening where you're really listening to them, but you're still only listening to what they're saying and maybe their emotions and maybe like some of their body language in that moment, right? You might be listening to more than just their words, but you're still only listening to everything that's being said within that moment, within that situation, within that circumstance. What I feel like what you're talking about with active listening, or what I call deep listening, I think that takes it to the level of you're not only hearing what they're saying, you're not only hearing their emotions, you're not only hearing everything in the situation or in the circumstance, you're also hearing where they're coming from. What's this person's story? What made them this way that makes them think like this? What happened to this person that makes them think like this? That is a whole different level of listening. When you're listening to actually understand where, like, why does this person think like this? Why do they express themselves like this? That's the level of what I think you're talking about is active listening. I think that's what you're getting at, right?
You're absolutely right. Yes, it is. And when you were saying that, it made me think of how often we say, "Oh, I feel you."
Yeah.
Do you really feel him though? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, did you? We say it, but Do you really feel it? Do you really hear it? Do you really see it? Did it resonate?
Do you fully understand? Do you understand and overstand? You stand it on both sides?
Right. Absolutely.
Of that balancing act,
Right. And just to get back to what we were saying, though, I don't even know if I kind of circled that off and put a period on that, but it's clearly an agenda in the hip hop community. Yes, we know and understand that. You can tell.
The one other thing I wanted to say before I let you run away with it is because of exactly what you're talking about right now is, the criticism that you get about listening to some of these people when you're pointing out facts about them that you might not agree with or find appealing is I think we do need to be able to separate the art from the artist sometimes.
Key statement. My response to that is just like when people are trying to tell me about my boy Ye. We'll get to that in a second, but my point is when people say certain things, my point is you're making this about everything except the music. Okay? Because when we look at the music, the creativity behind the music, the care, the passion, the ability to be in a game for this amount of time, work with different artists, bring the best out of artists, all of these different things. We can make it about a lot of other stuff, but it comes back to the music, right?
Well, up until the release of Donda, I would have completely agreed with you. But that wasn't his best work musically. Come on.
In 10 years, people will be saying about Donda the same thing they said about 808s and Heartbreaks. And understand 808s and Heartbreaks then either. All right. And we'll see, because I judge music. We all, especially in today's popcorn society, we all have an immediate reaction. Oh man, after one listen, that's the best album ever. Or after one listen, oh, that album's trash. Some of the greats, it takes time. It takes time for that to be appreciated, for that to be understood, for that to be listened to a little differently. So for some folk, maybe not. But it's been a lot. We're at an age now where we've gone through a lot of eras, and we've heard a lot of different music. We've heard music change, all of that. And there are some music that we don't appreciate when we first hear it, the first, second, third time, the first year, the second year. Sometimes it takes some coming back to really appreciate that. I personally appreciate it on first listen, but that's me. But I do think Donda will be in the category of 5 years from now. People will be like, yo, that was pretty good. That was actually really good. But we'll see, right? It's subjective.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. It wasn't the Kanye. Honestly, man, Kids See Ghosts was the last well, even Ye, I mean, which was put out right around the same exact time.
Right. Yeah, it was good. It was great.
Those two I loved. Yeah, I love that's the Kanye that I fuck with.
And sometimes we have to. I'm really good at doing this. A lot of people aren't, especially in the hip hop community. I don't know why that is, but what you just said, G, that's still the same man that made those projects, though.
Like right. No, but that's what I was saying earlier about being able to separate the art from the artist.
This is the same man that yes, we can't forget that this is still the same man that made Good Fridays. This is the same man that still made College Dropout. This is the same man who still made Graduation. This is the same man who still made Monster and worked with some of the great artists.
That may be true, but I gotta say, and maybe I've changed. I'm famous amongst my own friend group for changing my mind about shit. So I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't like Donda. But but if I'm being 1,000% honest, it just didn't hit. Like it didn't. Jay-Z and Jay Electronica had the 2 verses on the album that I was like, okay, like my ears perked up. You know what I mean?
Bro, segueing Jay Electronica. No wonder they won't let him put out stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't let a man that speaks that way just drop music all the time.
Well, he's the one, he's the first time. I mean, it's crazy to think that he was the first hip hop artist that I ever heard talk about DMT. He has a song called Dimethyltryptamine, and at the end of that song, he's talking about 9/11, George Bush, the seven-headed monster, the seven-headed dragon of the Middle East, and all this. And it's so camouflaged that you really gotta really listen. And I think you really kind of even need to be on DMT to fully catch some of the shit that's going on.
Probably so. Yeah. The more I learn about psychedelics and the power of spiritual drugs, shrooms and DMT, and you know, I haven't tried DMT myself yet, but the more I learn about it, the more that makes sense. Like, it's not something you always said this to me, and it always stood out to me. You were like, when I start to put words with my experience, it starts to distort it. It doesn't. It's not the same coded language to even be able to describe that sort of experience.
I mean, words are symbols.
The reason why folks,
they symbolize an experience that you can't replicate without the symbols. You know, it's the moment has already passed.
Right. And proof to me of that is simply look at the great creatives who have done great work. And most of them turn around and say, well, yeah, I was tripping when I did that, when I came up with that.
Yeah.
Like, I tapped into a whole different spiritual dialogue or creative dialogue that led me to create what you see here that you're calling a classic or greatness or whatever. I mean, it's interesting. And then you have folks like Tyler, the Creator, who don't smoke weed at all or do any drugs, and they just come up with some masterpieces too. So it's real interesting. You know, everybody has the things that make them tick, but there has been some great work and great projects done while experiencing a completely different realm or dimension, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, just to finish up the Kanye Donda album.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe down the road I changed my mind, but I gotta say, like, it just didn't hit, man. And especially with music, we've talked about this before too, is music is in a golden age right now. I mean,
beautiful.
There's so much good music out there that for me at this point in my life, it's like, unless it's really hitting like that, I don't really need to listen to it. And neither Drake nor Kanye impressed me this round. I mean, Drake's was so bad in my opinion. Yeah. Kanye's was even better. Jay-Z had at least a top 2 verse on both albums.
Right. Yeah. So,
and you know, I'm not even a big Jay-Z fan. To say that.
I know. And when you know the truth about that whole situation, whatever. Anyway, but like I said, separating that from the music, Jay is still one of the best rappers of all time, as we know.
Right.
Now, Drake is in a different place in his life right now. You know what I'm saying? And his music is resonating with that as far as just the lane that he is in. You know what I mean? He's going to do the numbers. He's a pretty boy. He's killing it. He's been on the throne for like over a decade now. He dropped an album, all 21 songs, chart on the billboards. He does nutty things, right? So he's just in a different space. He's just having fun with music. So, you know, that's how I kind of look at that album. I try not to get too caught up in the whole comparisons of Donda and CLB because they're two totally different albums.
I agree with that.
The crossover is because they take these jabs at each other and they stare things up, and then the whole Kanye Pusha thing, and Kanye and Pusha and Drake thing. So that's where a lot of that comes from. But musically, they're two totally different albums.
Yeah, and I agree with that 1,000%. And that's the thing is, like, it's just for me, like, it's hard to even explain the way I feel with music right now. It's just all about the way it makes me feel, the way it hits my heart, the way it hits me. And like neither one of them really hit. And Drake really hasn't hit since, and maybe Nothing Was the Same, but definitely Take Care. And go ahead, G. I was just gonna say this. I mean, I already said this earlier, and Kanye really hasn't hit since Ye and Kids See Ghosts. So it's been a while for either one for me. I mean, Kanye, obviously, that's 2018 versus 2013. But yeah, I mean, I'll always be a Kanye fan. I'll always support him. I don't want to say I'll always support him as a person, but like I understand him. I can relate to him in a way that I can't relate to Drake.
No, exactly. They're on a different. They're on a completely different frequency. There is a part of me that thinks that they're also playing all of this together. I could be completely wrong.
No. I know
that's. But there is a
I don't even. I was gonna say a huge part of me too.
Part of me.
No,
that thinks they are very smart and calculated. See, you got to remember, Drake is the most calculated person probably in the rap game right now. The other than probably Jay and then Ye and some other really smart ones like Kendrick and them, they most calculated people in the game. He ain't making a move without it having a meaning. So and the fact that he's plugged into Jazz Prince, and there's a lot of other things that just lead me to believe that this is one big, thing that gets the people going. I mean, they told you on Watch the Throne.
Locksmith talks about it on his song Famous.
Okay, yeah.
I forget the exact bar, but he's like, I'll diss you on Instagram Live, and then we'll both be eating off of our fake beef, Yeah. It's like,
seriously. I mean, part of the game is to do these things, Jay and Ye said it on Watch the Throne. It gets the people going. Yeah. It's like, yo, what do you do? It's like, it gets the people going, man. It do. People been talking about them too for the past 2-3 weeks now, So at the end of the day, both albums are outselling anything that's came out this year by 10. Both albums have their space. We all feel how we feel about each individual project. At the end of the day, hip hop is still in a great place. You got Kendrick coming. You got this new guy, Baby Keem, who is Kendrick Lamar's cousin. It's literally about to take over the game in the next year or two. You watch. His album's coming in a week or two anyway. It's going to be great. You just watch. It's amazing and it's beautiful. And it's something that I know that I've talked with you about, G, that I'm still very serious about doing some things within it, some way, form, or fashion. And a lot of people don't. A big part of me moving back home, there was a lot of things that led me to come back home, but it also sort of shifted gears with how I see things, my outlook, the next 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan, And we talked about this a lot. I just can't be stuck doing stuff that I just don't care about doing, man. I can't do it. And if I got to stay here on this property until I get it right and figure that out and start to move in that direction, that's what I'll do, So COVID was always a blessing in disguise in a sense.
Actually, I want to go a little bit further into this is, we talked a little bit at the beginning. I think it wasn't even recorded when I first brought it up, but this is kind of like therapy in a way, because I get to talk to somebody that sees things similar to me in the political, economic, social realm, so to speak. And, one thing I want to do less is talk about the plans for the podcast on the podcast and just go for it, whatever it is that we want to talk about. And we've a couple of times we've talked about telling our stories. And in episode 6, you told a little bit about your story, but given the state of the world, rather than going back and telling your story from the beginning, given coronavirus and COVID and everything, I'll edit this out if you don't want to talk about it, but did you want to share your personal COVID experience? Part of the reason why you haven't been on the pod in so long is you got COVID.
Yes, I got the symptoms of what is described as COVID. This happened. It's funny how this whole thing happened. My dad had another setback while I was traveling to Charlottesville because I had a meeting with someone who owns their own studio, and chopping it up with them. There's some things that I'm working on in the background that I'm not quite yet ready to reveal yet, because I'm also working on if I ain't doing it or it ain't completed, ain't no point in talking about it. But me in music, so me being down there must mean something. So I'll leave it at that. But Um, and that was the night I got the call. You know, Dad had to be helicoptered out to VCU. Had some complications with some things. That was another big setback. But it was right before Florida. It was right before my vacation, my trip to Florida, to Miami. I was going to Rolling Loud, you know, going to a music festival. That's my thing, man. Concerts, music festivals, you know, that's my thing. And anybody who know about Rolling Loud is one of the biggest hip hop and trap festivals in the country by far. They get all the acts there. It's a great time. And got back and immediately just, well, it really started when we were coming back in the airport for real. But at first I was like, oh, my throat's sore because you know, I've been drinking out of flask, been drinking my liquor straight. You know, you do that over 3 days, it kind of messes with your esophagus. I'm like, that's why I got a sore throat. And started noticing chills and stuff like that. Um, and got really lethargic for a couple days, lost my taste after that. It was definitely the way to describe it, you know, to a T, I mind you, to a T, which is interesting too. But look, you know, there is a lot that was already being discussed before COVID was a thing, right? That was causing people to get sick. Okay. See, G, from the last time we talked till now, I've had even more time to dig more into what I was experiencing, what my partner was experiencing, what
I want to hear
you
it.
know,
Roll with it.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And one of the interesting, and I'm gonna pull this up real quick. I never get this name right. Did I screenshot this? Because there's a specific term that led me some interesting places. Um, I swore I bookmarked it. Twitter. My Twitter always does this to me, G. It's like I be bookmarking stuff, and I swear it be not getting bookmarked. But basically, it was it was it's basically it's something that it's something that's known to be in chemtrails. It's something that's associated with 5G. It's something it's that oxide. Um People are looking at me like I'm crazy right now, but I'm trying to remember the name. I haven't been down this rabbit hole too long because obviously for me getting it is when and then having to take time to recover is when I finally started saying, yo, let me really go peel this back even more. It's because it's not just as simple as a virus, man.
Well, do you have your taste and smell back? I already
know the truth about, huh?
Do you have your taste and smell back?
Yeah, taste and smell it. Taste and smell is back. Taste and smell is back, and I kind of managed it my own way. I never went to get tested. I mean, I don't need to know that I got it to know that I got it. You know, so, but my key was always still to focus on the immune system and just even understand the viruses. You know, that book that I sent you, that naopathic health book. I learned so much. It teaches you so much about viruses and how viruses work within the body. What I experienced and what people are experiencing throughout the country is not even really virus-like symptoms when you really understand how the virus works in the body. A virus is some people don't even think viruses are a thing, but let's say they are a thing. That's the body detoxing. What my body was doing was not detoxing. Now you can say the first day or two where chills and the cold sweats and all that was experienced, you could say that there was a bit of a detox there. Anything foreign in the body is going to set that type of reaction off within the body anyway. But when you start to get to loss of taste and loss of smell without even having congestion, or when you start to get to mucus, but mucus is not, it's not an infection. Um, it's clear, it's not green, it's not, and not saying I understand that when you spit, sometimes mucus can be, or spit can be white, but that's not technically mucus. especially if there's an infection in the body. Infection is different than the virus, also true. But then when you start to dig where we dig, G, you start to you start to go a few other directions because the stuff that you learn starts to move you in different directions. And there has been so many things from the time that this thing first hit all the way to my own personal experiences that continue to lead me back to 5G. I cannot ignore understanding what radiation, what waves. I mean, we sit in waves. We're all sitting in waves right now just by being connected to a computer and having a Wi-Fi device, being able to talk to it, listening to the radio in your car, having your Bluetooth hooked up to your JBL speaker or your Bose speaker. Online gaming with your PlayStation. We're always in waves. And we know what waves can do. We know how it can penetrate. We know that the body is 70% water. We know these things. These things are fact. So you start to peel back all of these layers. You start to look at what were people, my interest in research started, G, where it was what were people experiencing? I ran across this article, not even an article, it was just research project. It was done at Walden, I think, or University of Washington, one of the two. And there were some well-renowned doctors, not only on the naopathic side, but also on the Western side too, that did research on every time we've had a shift in frequency, 2G to 3G, 3G to 4G.
Oh yeah, there's a book on this. It's called The Invisible Rainbow. I haven't started reading it yet, but I have that book.
Absolutely. You have that book. Interesting. See, it's funny that you say that because I ran across that book being a book that I need to check out. And these are the things.
Even before the studies 1G, 2G, 3G, even before that, when radio waves first came out, I think that was the Spanish flu, and then television waves. There was a epidemic / pandemic that correlated.
Every single time there is a shift, G, there is this thing. Whatever, there's this epidemic, pandemic, H1N1 thing, swine flu, anthrax. Now we are COVID. And it just so happens that once again, following the script to a T, there's a rollout of a new virus. So, it's interesting because simple-minded people will say, oh, you got, not that I'm running around announcing it, but the few that I have announced it to, hey, you got COVID. Oh, so you still think it's just, so you still think this, or you still think that? Well, yes, I do. yes, I did. Yes, I think it more than ever now, actually, because I have experienced it. And see, I know what a virus is. I also know scientifically, since everybody wants to.
Do you know? I gotta stop you there, though. Do you know what a virus is? Does anyone really know what a virus is?
And see, once again, there are a lot of people out here in our community that don't even think viruses are real. And who am I to deny them when somebody that I passionately listen to, study, and follow told us that there is no.
All right, sickness. So I gotta go.
There's only one.
I gotta go on.
And that disease
is what? That disease is what?
Mucus.
No. So that wasn't where I was gonna go. Where I was gonna go is this ivermectin thing. You've heard about this?
Why is that familiar?
The horse dewormer. Everybody's mad at Joe Rogan because he took horse medicine, is what they're calling it. And
you heard completely about this? Reversed everything.
Well, it helped. They can't. He was also taking vitamin drips and steroids and all. He's how he is anyway. He's on all that kind of stuff, supplements on it and all that. But no, the reason I'm bringing it up is because you said, well, you know what a virus is, and I said, well, does anyone really know what a virus is? Because I think when you start to break things down to the nitty gritty, what a virus is a parasite. A bacterial infection is the difference between the way I understand it. I'm far from a professional. I'm definitely not even in the well, I am in the medical field, but in the medical cannabis field, not in the not the infection, not the infection.
Right side of history, brother.
Right. So
right side of history.
But the way I understand it is the bacterial infection is when bacteria that is supposed to be in your body basically goes cancerous, or it goes off program and becomes something that harms the body rather than helps the body. Or like even it has something to do with your white blood cells. There's different diseases depending on what you're talking about, whether it's like a genetic disorder or a bacterial infection. There are other diseases that are not bacterial infections that are also not viruses, but the way I'm thinking about this is viruses and not viruses, right? So not viruses is like something in your body that is supposed to operate a certain way is not operating that way. Whereas a virus is literally a parasite. It's something that's not even supposed to be in your body, that's in your body, and like a tick, it needs a host to survive. It's a parasite. Like it only lives because of something else that's living. It's sucking like a vampire. It's sucking life out of a host.
It needs a host.
It needs a host.
Right.
So a virus literally is a parasite. And this is the reason I bring it. I set this whole thing up to say, there's a lot of people making fun of Joe Rogan for taking horse medicine, which is a parasite medicine. Well, isn't that what a fucking virus is? A virus is a parasite at a molecular level or at the cellular level. That's what it is. It's a parasite. At the cellular level.
I'm glad you said the cellular level too, because it is.
It's funny.
Cells don't get talked about enough in this whole thing, man.
Well, it's just that part is funny to me because they're saying that this medicine is meant for horse parasites, which it's like we give dogs aspirin, like just because it's meant for one. And then come to find out, like I was keeping my mouth shut about the whole thing for a while, because if I don't know enough about it, it's not worth, I don't want to make myself look stupid. But then it come to find out ivermectin's been made for humans since before 2015. It won like a Nobel Prize as a human medicine in 2015. Now today I'm hearing Joe Rogan's legitimately considering suing CNN because they've basically been slandering him, making things up about him taking horse dewormer.
He should, but you start barking up that tree.
Yeah, no, I know.
You start barking up that tree. So
John F. Kennedy,
I'm sure. Yeah, man, that's a whole network right there. And that they have one job, and their job is misinformation anyway. So so that's true. But Rogan has a big enough platform where, bro, you come out and say what you got to say. You tell your truth, man. And you facts facts to things can't deny anything. If it helps, if it works, and that's really where we're at right now with a lot of things. G, it's like, yeah, I experienced something that is known to be COVID. It's there's something out here that's real. Do I? But James, you don't believe what they're? No, I don't. Because just because we're experiencing something don't mean that it's what they're telling us it is, because it's not.
That's why we need to talk to each other.
How viruses?
Because there's nothing that they can say that's real. That's why, like, I was, debating just quitting the pod, and it's like, nah, I want to do the pod. I just, it's hard. I'm not going to get 200 listens per episode like I did with Allison McDowell. It's like, I don't need to try to keep up that level of performance or get those kind of guests on each time. Like, that wasn't my point in starting the pod. And although like her podcast made me think so hard about so many things, like, we were so fucking gung-ho on crypto. I know you still are to a degree, and for me it's like
to a degree, man, I am, but I never said that I don't realize that,
like, it's just it's taking the surveillance state to the next level. Every transaction is traceable. Every move that you make is on the blockchain.
Absolutely, man. And their blockchain is different than what
Well,
a
data
lot
is the
of
new oil.
programs.
They're selling our
It
data.
is.
That's where they're getting
Yeah.
the profit. They're not making profit on the actual trading of crypto or
No,
the way that we're making
it doesn't even
they don't even care about
exist.
money
Like,
on their level.
no. And that's the other thing. They don't.
About
It's just another
obtaining
part
data.
of the game, man.
Right.
Speaking of that, it's funny because I really been checking out your boy Chris. Shout out to Conspiracy, man. He's got a good pod he's running right now. He had an episode yesterday, I think. Yesterday or the day before that, he had one with this brother named LJ Young, who who talks about this debt matrix thing, man. And you should go check it out, man. It's probably his last pod he did, I think, September 8th. That's all I know.
That's
And
today.
it's today. Today's not the 8th. It is the 8th. Jeez. Well, that's kind of what LJ was talking about too. He was like, "Yo, once you unplug from the, not that I'm 100% unplugged, but once you unplug, you lose track of time and days and everything." Like, I've been working today and everything, bro. You know how many times in people's meetings that I had to be like, I had to remind myself it's Wednesday and I don't even know what date it is. Okay, so today, but that matrix, what you were just saying, just made me think about like even with crypto and stuff. It's like until you 100% debt free, you really don't. You said take that number that you think you invested and subtract it by your debt, and that's what you really got. And that sound like duh, but if it was so duh, we wouldn't
But
be
even
doing
then,
things.
is that what you really got? Like, aren't those just numbers in a computer system that we all are holding together through collective agreements?
Of course, but they still own your ass because at the end of the
Because
day,
we've agreed collectively.
we've agreed We've agreed to that. We've agreed to saying, yo, I don't really have this, so I need to get this from you. And when I get this from you, you're gonna tax me for having this from you. And then that just compounds and stacks on top of things because people with that mindset do it with other things. And next thing you know, you upside down $200,000-$300,000 or however much people in debt, and it's like, yo, I'm invested in crypto, I'm investing in the stock market, yo, I own a home. You don't own none of that shit, bro. None of it.
You're paying rent to the bank.
You don't own shit and you ain't investing in shit.
A mortgage is rent payment to the bank.
And not only that, the word mortgage in Latin root, bro, it blows your mind. They like LJ said, and you've said this before. We've all said it before. They never lie. When you pick, we can hate them. We can talk shit about them. We don't like how they play games with us. They never lie though. When you listen closely, what I'm trying to practice now, active listening. When you listen closely and you look at the word magic, you've talked about this.
You have to learn their language.
Got to learn their language because they do tell you. They tell you what's up. They're not lying to you. But we, it's wild. It's wild, And I find myself more and more starting to say, these dudes, man, how they come up with this stuff? Like who? Like you've got to be, evil genius to just be so good at this, at deception, illusion, manipulation. They never lie though. I can't call them liars, but all the other words ring true for sure. But I can't call them a liar. They don't lie. They tell you
it's funny, but they're like, I see what you're saying, but they're like such deceptive and manipulative that they want you to think that they're liars. They want you to think that they're liars because they're not.
Hate them. Yeah,
that's how deceptive they are.
They can always turn around and say, "What you mean? We said right here in the terms and conditions. We told you.
We told you."
I'm sorry that you took that word and that phrase to mean this. You just don't know how to read, sir.
Yeah.
No, it's
you should look up statute 1, regulation 12, line 18 says it right there.
Says it right there. Yeah. But when I read it, I didn't take it that way. Oh, so what you're saying is that you don't have reading comprehension. Oh, okay. That's how they can play that, double-ended meanings and things, lawyers speak, all that kind of stuff.
Legalese.
But can't call him a liar though. I can't call him a liar.
You agreed to
it.
We
But
agreed
anyway,
to
I just yeah, exactly. Um, but it really is therapy. I didn't mean to jump off my whole COVID experience, but at the end of the day, man, you know, gee, we know that nothing is as it seems, and I had something that resembled all of those symptoms. And your average Joe, and the way that would describe it to anybody that I didn't feel like going into lengthy dialogue with, I would call it COVID too, because I guess that's what it is. But what is this really? Where does this God, I wish I could find that phrase that I want to speak about right now. I thought I bookmarked it, man. It's basically radiation penetrating the body effectively. It's a word, it's a phrase. It's known to be in the chemtrails. It's nitrogen oxidative. I don't want to just say something and not be it. I'll find it. Oh, thank God. Here we go. Graphene oxide. I want everybody to just go. Like, I'm not about to sit here and pretend I'm the expert on it. I never pretend to be the expert on a lot of things. But what I do is I like to bring up topics and talk about things, because you, as the listener, should go look into it and see where it takes you. Because you cannot deny the things that you will learn about graphene oxide, where it's found, what its uses are for, what it's being found in. More importantly, what it is being found in. Okay.
Graphene
And
family nanomaterials are not approved by the USA FDA for human consumption.
It's found in our water.
If the FDA doesn't approve of it, they approved this fucking
They
Pfizer
approve of
thing.
everything, G. Exactly. They approve of everything, G. They approve of all sorts of things. I'm not going to get into
Yellow
that
5,
conversation.
red 40.
But my thing is look at where it's found at, G. People always want to call things conspiracy instead of just going and looking at it. These things have been tested. Your water, your food, your air, what's being found in chemtrails, what's being found, what 5G, how 5G plays a role while this stuff is cooking and baking in your body. This is not, there's studies.
I will say this. I will say, from what and I wanted to say this earlier, from what I understand about the 5G is that the 5G doesn't directly relate to these COVID-like symptoms or SARS-CoV-2 or whatever you want to call it, but it does weaken the immune system and make it more susceptible.
That's the
to
key
any
to the
form
whole,
of sickness.
That's the key. That's the key. That's the role. Listen, everything has its role. Nothing just works from just one element. Sometimes things take multiple elements to happen. We talked about this before, G, brainwashing. Brainwashing is not as simple as, oh, well, James, you think everyone's just getting drug into chambers and getting reprogrammed the same way Ye did when they drug him off a stage and took him to UCLA? No, that's not happening. But when you combine things that calify the pineal gland, when you combine things that weaken the immune system, when you combine things through television, through what you hear, through radio waves, through stuff in your toothpaste, through stuff in your deodorant, when you combine 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different elements together, things are created. That the place for this brainwashing or whatever, or in other things, it becomes a ground for these things to feast on. And it's exactly like a virus. When you get the body's defense system down, and let me tell you what weakens the defense system. Vaccines itself weakens the defense system. Your immune system, God gave us everything we needed, man. Nature, God, whatever this is. the immune system is a beast. You know, my boy Wim Hof shows you what respecting the cold can do for your immune system. There are so many other people out here who are challenging Western science every day with showing you what herbs, with practices, with discipline, with mental control, with all of these different things that we could tap. These are our superpowers, but we don't focus on that stuff because we run.
I gotta start telling a little bit of my story though, because all right, number one, my mother wasn't even supposed to be able to have children. She had to get a vaccine when she was like 20 weeks in utero just for me to survive. Some like experimental, it wasn't totally experimental by the late 80s, but it's like for people that have her blood type, you know, she had 3 miscarriages before me. And then like she needed the special shot just if the baby even made it to 20 weeks, she needed like the special shot. And I would have to look it up. I forget the name of it. But the point is, a vaccine is the only reason I'm even alive, you know? So I'm like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I also like, I'm still going to question things and use like my rational and logical faculties to make decisions that I feel are best and healthiest for me.
Right. Absolutely.
And then, but hold on, I gotta finish too, because there's that's one major instance of my life where without Western medicine, I wouldn't be here. And then, as you know, in April of 2012, I had an accident where I had my feet run over by a forklift, and I had emergency surgery. That is pretty much the only reason I can still walk today. So,
look,
although I'm 1,000% with you when it comes to daily, like, you know, what you eat is your medicine, food be your medicine, breathing practices, cold showers, this sort of holistic lifestyle. I'm all for that on the day-to-day, but I do think Western medicine has its place in emergency situations. I think it's unparalleled to other naturopathic and allopathic holistic type of stuff when it comes to an emergency like having your feet run over by a forklift.
Absolutely. And I've always said that.
Right. Or a situation where you've got like a baby fetus that needs an injection of some sort to survive. Those are 2 examples that are personal to me that I can think of. I know that there's others out there. I'm just saying from personal experience, I want to just let everybody know I'm not like completely holistic, 100% anti-Western medicine. I think it has its place, but
it sure does. It does. You can't tell me
it needs to
your
be
arm
people, but it need to be people over profits, man. And
exactly.
That's the problem with Western medicine is it's profits over people.
Exactly. And maybe I need to reiterate that too. Obviously, if your arm gets cut off by a chainsaw, you need to go to the emergency room and they need to do what they do. Okay. Like
now, when it comes to
understand
viruses and sicknesses and that's where I agree.
We have been lied to.
When
we've been lied to for a long time
anything
about
that your
kind
immune system, if it's not an emergency situation and you can give your immune system a fighting chance, you don't need vaccines and pharmaceutical pills, and nature has provided these things. All pharmaceuticals are made from nature and patented. That's the point, is if you can patent it, then you can make a profit off of it. But if it's natural,
absolutely.
And that's where I really do have a problem with Western medicine and Western medicinal practices.
Big time.
But I also, this is the balancing act, so I got to play devil's advocate and say, well, it has its place.
Of course.
You know, so
of course.
I want you to go ahead.
But I don't think that's really
what you're going to say.
No. I just was going to say, I don't even think that's really. Look, it has its place, like you said, you know. But we're talking about the maintenance of health, and we're talking about how do you evolve your baseline of health.
Well, see, and when I was growing up, Western medicine didn't deny the existence of an immune system either. Like that seems really new.
See, but these are the things that I have issues with. Is when something like this comes up, COVID, whatever. What's the first thing we're talking about? We're not talking about ways of of preventing it, the right way of
changing your
preventing it.
diet,
We're not talking
exercise, certain
about
exercises that can improve your
yes,
respiratory system, breathing practices, cold showers.
exactly.
None of
We
that's
don't
talked
we
about in
don't
the
talk
news.
about any of that.
The news doesn't talk about it
None.
for sure. It's
And
just get the
then
vaccine. It's safe and effective. Scientists say.
and then look who it's coming from. It's coming from the same people who are funded by McDonald's and Coca-Cola.
Literally the largest criminals in the history of the United States. They've paid the largest criminal fine in the history, Pfizer specifically.
And that's who I'm listening to what I need to do to
well, that's who
protect
media, the
myself.
media is funded by them as well. Oh, but you know what? We'll give you
Exactly.
free Krispy Kreme donuts for 2 weeks if you get your.
You know what?
Fauci
Your
ouchie.
kid, we'll give you AirPods and Best Buy gift cards, man. I'm trying to tell you, bro. It's a mock. They start
$100 cash.
That's where I get. That's where I start to get like this because it's a mockery. First of all, second of all, we, especially somebody like you, you studied the elders, man. You studied the elders even more than me. You know, of Chinese medicine, a lot of other stuff that you talked about, that you've read and studied and understand culture. And I know you've come across a lot of the same stuff that I've come across. It's like these are things that have been practiced and done for centuries, you know, and they've never stopped working. We've so lost our way though, and we get caught up in what the criminal organizations are telling us and feeding us. And that's my problem. My problem is not with Western medicine doing what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do it. And it's a tool, it's a place, it's a resource for helping in emergency situations. Absolutely. But we're talking about, we're not talking, you know, it's not always emergencies, you know, and we need to, you know, first, there's a few things that I'm really focused on right now. Understanding money and understanding health more. Understanding health more. Because I feel like I know a little something, but you can never stop learning, you know? And there's so much more to learn, especially in a world where there's so much shit out here, man. You know, so much.
You go back and listen to that episode with Allison again. I go back and listen to it just because
it was so much knowledge
beyond
on there. Yes. Yes.
And listening to her talk with somebody who like Sire G, who already is on her level in some ways.
Right.
That shit is mind-boggling, and it's a little unsettling, really.
It is. You know, what she was saying about crypto, man, was me. You know what I found myself saying when she was talking about that, and some of the other stuff that I've obviously in our world, G, we run across all sorts, you know.
Yeah, a lot of it's conflicting. Yeah. And then
a lot of it's
there's a lot of infighting in the that's one of the reasons I hopped off social media for a while too, man, is like the one thing that the legacy media, mainstream media, whatever you want to call it, the sheep, whatever you want to call these people, non-player characters, zombies, there's so many names for them, right?
Ready Player One talks about that.
Yeah. The one advantage they have over us is they don't have the infighting.
No, you're so right. They're all on the same page because they're being fed the same message and they all agree to that same one message.
Right.
They do have that advantage, G. They do. But but let me say this though. A lot of the infighting that you see, especially on Twitter, because you know that's my place.
I can't speak to you think that's their bots and stuff? Yeah. No, it definitely is, but sometimes it's not.
No, of course. Sometimes it's not, but I can promise you it is a hefty amount of fake ass woke pages out here, bro.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's
Ben
Stewart
did an episode on that. He did a Waking Infinity episode. I forget which exactly one it is, but go back on his Waking Infinity. There's I think it's episode 42. It's the fake news one. And he talks about, there's an interview with this lady from Cambridge Analytica, I think, and she's talking about, you know, they would literally farm. One of their products was selling a bot farm to companies, and then whatever the company, whatever message that company wanted, they would just farm bots out there and put that message out. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere.
You know who did it? You know one of the folks who did it?
What's that?
The Washington football team. When they were trying to change the narrative on all the stuff that was coming out last year, and they started making all of these changes, and they wanted everybody to kind of, hey, see what we're doing now? You could tell. One of my podcast guys that I listen to, Al Galdi, he's great at sports, Washington D.C. sports, and hey, you know me, man. I love my Kevin Sheehan's and my Al Galdis, man. I know you be seeing me say stuff to them all the time on Twitter, bro. I've been listening.
You haven't listened to the
like
episode
6, 7
with
years,
me and LT yet, have you? You haven't listened to the most recent one with me and LT?
Huh?
Have you listened to the most recent episode with me and LT?
I was starting it today, and you were like, "Yo, let's go," and I was like, "Yo, I'm kind of ready." Nah, but I'm sure he said something about that. Whatever.
He's clowning you for your sports talk radio habit, so it's just funny that you bring it up.
Man. That's my other little community, yo. Then boy, I got something to say. I call up and say it, and they know I'm gonna keep it funky. I ain't gonna BS the community, man. I'm gonna keep it real. I've been keeping this shit real for 6 years.
But
I'm
with LT on this. Finally, I should say LT is with me on this because he finally came around with last year's Super Bowl. He's like, man, all this shit is fixed. He's done with it. That's why he's not even in our fantasy league.
We've been for talking. Real. No, he did get that up though.
But it is truly fixed. I'm a little bit more with him. That's why I can't do the sports. I can't get into it like I was as a kid because
like you used to.
It's all fake.
We've said this before, G. Once you see, you can't unsee.
I can watch the games knowing it's fake and still enjoy the games, but I don't watch Sports Center. I don't listen to talk radio. I don't do none of that.
Like all the hot take shows and all that. Yeah. No. I do like to sometimes listen to Colin Cowherd. I've come around on him before all the other the other ones. But listen, I already know, G. I know.
But the best ones are the ones that have been fired or left ESPN in the last 5-10 years.
Oh well, especially ESPN. See, that's why I like Colin, because Fox isn't like ESPN when it comes to sports. At least.
Yeah,
I know Fox is still Fox.
I like Lebitard. Lebitard was the man. I still rock with him.
Oh,
yeah,
he's independent now. Yeah,
he's independent.
Yeah, he's independent.
I don't really listen to him, but he was the man.
That's the way.
If there was one, I was gonna say if there was one, I would start listening to. It would be him.
That's the way to go for all of these people. Unless you're making Stephen A. Smith money, why are you even still working for these people? Like, go get your podcast. You got a following. Go get a YouTube page and go do your thing. Like that's the way of it. Shit, I don't even know where this tangent was taking us. G, we were talking about something. Oh, the bots. It's so fun, and people don't realize when your money long, you can pay for a lot of bots. I mean, these packages, bro, provide a lot of bots. You can do a lot of things with that. I mean, this is how people get followers sometimes. A lot of people with high followers paid for those followers. Those aren't real followers. Those are bot pages.
Right.
I'm not knocking it. Whatever. It makes you look like you got a lot of followers. But at some point, at the end of the day, when you lay your head down at night, you always got to ask yourself the question, are you authentic and are you real? You can fake and phony it all out here in front of people, but you the one who got to look yourself in the mirror every day. You know what I'm saying? That's so people getting fake stream, because this is a big epidemic in the music industry too now, especially when you got the machine behind you. There's a lot of fake streams out here, and I respect the people.
Look at Suicide Boys.
Suicide Boys authentically got their numbers ain't high, but those are authentic numbers, which makes it more impressive amongst folks who know that that's impressive. You know what I mean? Like 300,000, 200,000 is dope, but you don't know how many it is. That shit, you don't know how much that is. That's the crazy, bro. We literally live in a time where so much shit, unless I see it in front of me, G, and we talked about this before, I'm not trusting it. And that still goes for the shit that I even experienced with COVID. It's like, look, I know what you telling me it is. That don't mean shit to me, though.
Right.
It doesn't.
Nah. That's why I like talking to you though, because you know, and this is I want to bring both of our stories together a little bit because you know neither one of us really smoked weed in high school, and we weren't, you know, we were focused on sports. I was a smart kid, you know, and I think a lot of high schoolers that don't keep up with me would probably remember me as like the math kid, you know.
Yeah.
But like, you know, we went to college and we both had experiences, and I think cannabis probably played a role for both of us. I remember your story from episode 6, and then for me, I would say cannabis definitely played a role, but also just a lot of documentaries. I was getting into documentaries at that time, and I got into the whole conspiracy thing. My angle in on it was following the money. You know, the whole like, I'm not a huge Ron Paul fan anymore. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say I'm not a fan. I still like Ron Paul. I still like a lot of his ideas. I don't agree with all of them as much as I used to.
Right. Right.
But like, you know, understanding central banking, even though like I'm not as much of a libertarian or like this Austrian economic type of guy now, 10 years later, like that was definitely like his books. And then also there was a movie called America from Freedom to Fascism. Aaron Russo is the director of that. He's passed since then, but he talks a lot about the shiesty way that they were able to pass the income tax law. It's the 16th Amendment. But you would have to watch it. I don't want to go into complete detail, but the point of all that is my angle into conspiracy was money. And I remember, you know, because social media was kind of new at the time, and I'm sure a lot of people thought I was wild because this was like 2008, 2009. I'm posting, you know, zeitgeist and fucking America from freedom to fascism, the Obama deception,
classic
shit like this.
Truth material though, bro.
And I remember the first time I saw you after I guess we got red pilled or black pilled or whatever the fuck you want to call that experience, that phenomena. We were over at LT's. I think it was Christmas break or it was one of the like college breaks, you know. Pretty sure it was Christmas break. And as soon as I walked in the door, you said, "Gee, my man, here for the revolution." And I'm saying, man, that was probably 2009, 2010. So we've been thinking like this for a while, and it's good to be able to talk about it, to have our pod, even if we get, you know, 10 listens or whatever peddly amount of listens we get. You know, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's therapy, and
it is. And I like how you're saying that too, though. It's therapy because it kind of is, though, man. Seriously.
And when we talk about medicine, it's like the medicine that they're feeding us, that ain't medicine, man. And you know, Charles Eisenstein talks about, you know, you are statistically more likely to live to 100 smoking and drinking and hanging out with friends than you are living in a bubble by yourself, alienated, which is one of the reasons why I used alienation as the name before, but we're in the balancing act era now. But the whole point is community is medicine. Being able to talk real with your homies, with your family. I wish I had a family that I could talk this type of shit with, you know, like, you know, my dad, he'll hear it, but he don't.
My dad
he's
too,
a boomer.
man.
He's a boomer.
Yeah,
you know,
they can't. Their program is set a certain way, man.
It's like there's a distortion. It's like there's a field you can't get through the field. You know,
can't penetrate it. It's so. But that goes back to just like when you think about some of the stuff we talk about with programs and all of it. It's so it has to be something to this stuff, bro, because we all have good intentions. We all want to, you know, but there's just certain things that, you know, I mean, my dad thinks my dad sometimes is like, dude, you always want to go against the grain and this, that, and the third. I'm like, Dad, it's not even about going against the grain. It's just about understanding things for what they really are. And I realize that some people are scared to face things as they really are. But to me, you need to, so you can know how to better maneuver
it's
through it all.
healthier.
There might not be. It's healthier. Yes.
I don't care how pretty. I don't
Yes.
care how pretty the lie is. I don't care how pretty you dress it up. It can't feel as good as the truth.
Can't, bro.
It can't.
It can't. You know, and let me tell you, speaking of that, you know, another thing that I'm really starting to understand. There's a lot of people out here, bro, that's got a lot of houses, they got a lot of cars, they got the title, they got the job, they got all of that. Let me tell you, bro, with what I'm learning about money and what I understand about this debt matrix and that whole side of things, I love how I'm doing things right now. No mortgage, no rent, no car note, starting to pay things cash up front. I ain't getting into nothing. Bro, it's a different world when you start to understand, because remember, it's not just one system out here in place to fuck people. It's not just one, it's many systems. Many systems. Many. One of them is debt, taxes, and loans, and interest rates, and the trap. You know, it's part of it. It's a piece, not the whole, but it's a piece. It lives under that umbrella of the matrix. You know, that's why I liked how LJ called this thing the debt matrix. It was like, yeah, it's a matrix. It's a different illusion that you look in when you say,
when
yo,
money,
I got $200,000 worth of debt, but I'm still paying a mortgage, but I own this house. No, you don't own the house. The bank's own
the
the
bank
house.
owns that house. You pay the bank to say
Nothing,
that you
bro.
own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. That's about, I can see now that's gonna be my next, well, it already is, but all of these little pieces build one big puzzle. And when you look at the picture on that puzzle, if we ever get to completion, I don't think you ever really fully get to completion. But you know, for folks like the what's her name, the lady you talk about that just wed. I mean, her puzzle is obviously, yes, Allison, yes, her McDowell, yes, her puzzle has obviously got a lot more pieces in it, and you can see that picture a lot clearly. And I'm just working on that phase of the puzzle right now, where it's like, yo, it's we really overcomplicate a lot of things. It's as simple as simple math, you know, with a lot of that stuff.
And
for
if
you, it's probably you've always been the numbers and the math guy. But for some people like me, I gotta learn the hard. I had to learn the hard way about that, and that trick, and how they, and not only that, realizing, yo, I've got to change my mindset and how I look at money too, and how I look at certain practices with money as well. You know, like I've got to look at it, own it, accept it, and say, yo, you don't, you know what I mean? You don't really own shit until you at zero, man. Like you just don't, you know, and
even then,
power that
even then, do
the
you
power own it? The power and the leverage, that it takes from you when you owe an entity something. It, you know, people that
but
don't
even
want to go
that,
to
man,
work.
even that is like, it's all based on human agreements. Like on a
Very
spiritual
true.
level, even something that you own outright, so to speak, like you don't own it when you die. You know what I mean?
Very true.
You can't take it with you.
Very true. Very
You know?
true.
So
Very true.
I think agreements are really, and I talk about it all the
You
time, and
talk
I'm not gonna go
about
there.
it all the
I'm not gonna
time.
go
I
there,
know.
but
I know.
it's everything.
I know.
They literally are the foundation of the story that we write for ourselves, the story of humanity, history,
Right.
her story, our story, all stories, all narratives
Right.
are based on the agreements, because even at a cellular level, if you want to look at it at like a scientific way, you know, all letters, sounds, symbols, none of it makes sense if we don't agree on the meaning of the sound and the
Oh, the
symbol.
meaning of it. Exactly. We all agree that a pool is a pool because we know POOL is pool, and pool means
but Chinese
water in a
person
pool.
won't even understand what you're saying.
Understand?
They don't speak
That's
English.
so true.
There's a code to all of that. You know, language is really important and overlooked, and then even language, language being a foundation on one level, and then what's the foundation of language? The agreements.
Right.
So agreements are really fucking important.
Yeah.
Really important. But
yeah, and you harp on that and you talk about that. I know one of your one of the books that you live by, the Four Agreements, man. And you gifted that to us. That was I that was a great read. And I've got my dad reading a lot of interesting books too. You know, he got to a point in life where all he was reading was the Bible, man. And that's great. You know, there's a lot of code in that Bible too. But there's other things to read out here. There's a lot of other great reads, a lot of great knowledge, a lot of great wisdom that is being written. It just is. And I got that. He's going to get to the Four Agreements. I got him. I got that book. I'm ready for him right now. He's still reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he's reading this fasting book I got for him. He's reading those two right now. But the Four Agreements is on his list to read. He wants to read that as well. What chapter did I read? I read a couple pages out of this chapter to him, and he was like, you know, I can always tell when my dad, you know, no matter what, you know, because he's older and like you said, the boomers or whatever, there's still certain things that when we get to talking about, I can tell when he's like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
The reason I bring that up is because, you know, I am a money focused person. I'm a numbers driven person. I don't ignore the importance of money and economics.
Yeah.
And I just think that we need to start understanding the importance of agreements even in economics, and understanding economics and money as a field that a lot of people, when they think about money, there's like a divide. They think that money is like anti-spiritual. You know, it's not something that you can talk about in the same breadth as religion or spirituality or God.
Right.
And it's like, nah, man, all of that shit is related. There's a book, and I've talked about it a little bit before. It's called Sacred Economics by Charles Eisenstein.
You have, yeah.
And the reason I say what I was saying is to lead up to the fact that, you know, we've agreed that money has interests associated with it.
Right.
So as soon as money is printed, it's printed and lent to banks at interest. So literally every dollar in a central banking system that we've agreed to,
keyword
is tied to debt. So that's what you're talking about, the debt matrix. In a central banking system, every dollar or whatever the primary unit of currency may be, whether it's the euro or they might even switch it over to Bitcoin, but that would be a totally different paradigm because there is no interest associated with it and it's a computer program. But the way it's currently operating, all of money is printed at interest. It's all mostly on a computer. You know, there's only 3% of the economy is actually using paper notes. So it's just an agreement that we have on a software program where people who have money are able to earn interest on it, and people who don't have money have to spend the money that they have just to live. I think negative interest is one of the greatest ideas I've ever heard about when it comes to economics. And the way he laid out the argument, I mean, I just recommend anybody listening to check out the book Sacred Economics. It really does merge spirituality and economics, which are two fields, two disciplines that I feel most people, they don't see them being compatible, when in fact it's the most important, in my opinion, the most important mission of our generation is to merge money and spirituality, and to understand that if we get our agreements straight in the money realm, you know, it's like, you know, I'm not a big, I know me and you were both angry with Lupe, but that song Form Follows Function, I like that song a lot.
Form follows function, yeah.
It is what it is. It's like, if we can set the form of the economic system in such a way that it truly does benefit everybody, then it'll function properly. It'll form itself, as he talks about in the song. And so if we can set up an economic system where money actually represents the things that we really want, food, community, most anything that we really want, it loses value over time, you know, whether it's livestock or agriculture. So if you set up the money, the medium of exchange, to have a negative interest, then the money that you spend on others the amount of transactions. It's more about the cash flow. It's more about the amount of transactions that makes the community or the society wealthier than accumulating wealth. Because if you accumulate wealth and then the money's losing value over time, well, you might as well spend it on other people and gain their trust and gain their friendship and gain their companionship. And then you start to form a tighter community, start to learn more about each other, tell each other stories. You see where I'm going with this? It's a more holistic outcome when you have a money system that is holistic itself and well thought out. And I don't like the word spiritual because I keep seeing this meme online. It's like demons are spirits too. Be more specific, and that is true. But I don't know a better word for it. For now, it's just that understanding that there is something beyond rational reductionist science in this world.
Right.
There is a mystery out here. There is, you can call it what you want, you can be an atheist if you really want to be an atheist, but I think the only honest atheist can at least admit that there's some shit that they can't explain, Anybody that thinks that science has figured it all out and we're just like flesh bodies operating at random, like, what are you even doing with your life to even come to that conclusion?
To come to that conclusion, you are dull, empty, and voided inside, and that's usually what the case is. But I mean, hey, man, you're absolutely right, and that's an interesting. I always find when you talk about that topic to be interesting too, because you would think that all of these so-called leaders out here, there would be a few of them that think outside the box about stuff too, but whether they do or they just don't get the chance to express it because they don't make it far enough in that game.
Well, you hear people say all the time, money is the root of all evil. Well, let's fucking fix it. We're the ones that are making the system run. We're the ones using the money. Let's come together and be like, we outweigh them, and I think money is the one system where people can practically and pragmatically grasp that, even on a conceptual level, like, oh, we are the 99%. Like, people usually think about it in like a social justice way, like we're supposed to be picketing and protesting. It's like, what if we just stop spending our money? What if we just literally use these social media platforms and whatever online platforms we can to say, all of us, let's just stop paying mortgages starting January 1st, 2022.
I use the Missouri University football team situation as a prime example of why that works. Okay, when you hit them in the pocket.
Well, even these COVID vaccine mandate protests in other countries have been successful.
Oh yeah,
there's other countries that they tried to do the vaccine mandate and it wasn't going to work. I think Russia was one of them, or a certain part of Russia, and they boycotted.
See how those folks come together and rise up?
They boycotted every business that required the vaccine, and those businesses
what they doing over here in America though, G?
They're trying to mandate it using the private sector in America.
My point, what I'm getting at is there ain't none of that. When I see a riot or a protest on my television or my screen, it's either manufactured or it's just following the herd to be a part of something. They ain't doing nothing out here, man. Nobody out here is about that life right now, bro.
I don't know.
2020 showed us that, and I know you've been.
I don't know. It seems like the tide is turning, man.
About it than me.
There's been.
I hope.
Maybe you're right. It could be computer generated, but
no, I hope. I'm not sure. I definitely don't like hearing myself sound emo. I hope.
It looked like there was a lot of people in New York City protesting these mandates. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, it could have been.
It might be.
But
well,
if the
that might
be
real.
On me that's too, thousands though,
because they don't. Yeah.
There were thousands of people marching against the mandate. If the video is real, I'm not saying it's definitely real, but
right.
And I've heard.
Well, did you see any purple in it? If you didn't see any purple in it, it might be real. We've learned that too.
We got, you know what? We got to get her back on the show because I got a lot I need to throw at her.
I see it though, bro.
Yeah, but is every single time that you see purple, if I'm wearing a purple shirt when I fucking walk across the guy doing the news report?
Well, it depends, because if I see you in the White House, sure, I might have to raise my brow too. You gotta, you know what I mean? It's, but more so than just about the color that someone's wearing. It's I see it all the time, G, when I'm trying to say, is this video real or not? I'm looking at the video and,
the hue. It's got like
I'm looking at the video, a purple hue. Like, I can't deny the fact that Candace Owens can put a video up and the video look like a video that I would make at home talking to whoever I'm talking to. It looks normal,
just like this video right here.
Even if it looks like just like this video right here, and I still in your background, the video's a little grainy because it's darker in there with a low light, but it's still, you can tell that the video was authentic and legit and not doctored and not deep faked.
It's hard to tell though, man, unless you've got an eye trained for it. Because even now, I go to that website, thispersonisnotreal.com, the one that HB told me to check out.
Yeah.
Some of those people look real to me, man. I don't know. Maybe my eye just hasn't learned how to. Of course it looks
real. It's taken millions of people's faces and it makes
it
new
looks
faces.
Super fucking real, dude. I can't. I have a very because she, like, when you hear her talk, she's like, well, after a minute or two of clicking through it, you'll start to discern. And I'm like sitting there just clicking, and I'm like, these motherfuckers all look real to me.
Well, now, no.
A few of them, I'm like, okay, I can tell
the humans,
fake. Yeah, but for the most part, I can't tell. And supposedly on that website, they're all fake.
You're not supposed to be able to tell. It's not easy to tell. That's the eye. The eye can only do so much. But bro, we can't tell. This is why we always are questioning shit. It's not because we're crazy. It's because you gotta question the shit.
Well, yeah, it comes back to that quote I had in one of our other episodes. It's like, I'd rather have a question I can't answer than an answer I can't question. And that quote has been hitting me, man. That's a good one.
Real shit, bro.
Yeah.
That needs to be in a verse, man.
Yeah. Send
that shit to Ab for the next album.
But I mean, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? I know we didn't. Did we finish talking about your experience with COVID? Of course, we're gonna freeze here.
G.
Yeah, you're there now. You're back.
Oh, sorry, man. I was just saying we went all of this time with no hiccups in there.
It's all good.
What were you saying?
I was gonna say, did you completely finish your COVID experience story? Because you were quarantined. You finished your quarantine what, August 27th, something like that.
August 27th. Nah, I wouldn't say that long. I mean, technically it would have been July. I got back. When did I get back? I got back. Did I get back to 26 or did I leave to 26? I don't even know, bro. Let me look at this. I got back. I went on the 26th, got back on July, got back 26. No, I got back to 26. My bad. I think. Got back to 26. Wednesday the 28th is when I was really like, yo, something. I was like, something going on here.
Yeah, you felt sick.
The 28th. She got tested Friday, found out. They called her Sunday. That would have been August the 1st. And then we officially, I was already starting to quarantine though, because I knew something was up. So I would say August the 15th. I kind of did it like 2 weeks, and I did an extra week just to be careful because of my father. who's older. And because I wasn't quarantining when I got back immediately, he actually caught a cough. So I was really nervous for a minute, So going to this show Monday, when I came back here, man, whenever I go inside, I throw the mask on, whatever.
If it just makes him feel better, then that's
exactly.
The mints. That's an underrated. I do want to cover that point real quick because that's a point that I made on one of our shows. I don't know if it was with you or not, but one of the alienation episodes is like, I feel like, the power of our faith is underlooked. And if you just repeat the same message over and over and you get people believing that the shit's real, then their belief kind of creates it. It creates it,
That's why go back to 1919 when was it, when they were doing the placebo experiments, the military placebo experiments? That's what it is. These fucking idiots, these people, I don't mean to say idiots because I don't know what it is that makes this happen, but they literally were experiencing some shit, and then they got told, dude, this was a placebo. What you acting like you bugging for? You not. Like, it's the mind is powerful, G.
Right. That's what I'm getting at is the placebo
people levitate
effect.
off the ground that are really plugged into their mind. They can levitate.
Yep. In this
people,
case,
there are people that can write whole albums from their brain, man. When you're plugged into that brain, the brain is powerful. So you damn right. So you damn right. Oh my, who knows? Oh man, my son came back again. I'm gonna get sick again. I'm starting to feel. So, you know what I mean?
Just thinking like that can make it happen.
Thinking like that. Just thinking like that.
I know.
And it's true.
I know.
Now, but with me, and with my experience, I wasn't thinking that shit. That just was something that I was, whatever it may be, man. And there I'm in the heap of, after we get off this pod, man, I'm going right in there and I'm digging, man. I'm digging because this is the start of something new. All of this start, new economy, new way it is. This is the new economy. That's something LJ was talking about on Chris Pod. Was, this is the new economy started last year. But my point is that it's not as simple as this is just some. There is something that is touching my spirit with this graphene oxide thing. And when you look at it, when you look at how people are saying that it's playing its role in all of this, and what I experienced, that was known to be COVID, I can't ignore when I'm learning. Now I'm not completely locked into it yet, I don't really know it all and so when you learning something new like this, sometimes the stuff you read and you got to go take what you just read and pull pieces from that and go look that up, because you know what I'm saying? They got words in what I'm reading that I got to figure out what that even means and how it plays its role in this. So there's a lot of pieces. I'm still putting together on that. But by the next time we get together, I'm gonna have a lot to talk about with that. If it's supposed to be talked about, because if it's not, then there's nothing else to say about that. But there's something there, man, and I don't know, man. There's something there. We didn't have viruses before. Viruses don't do that. Not they don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a different kind. Okay, well, still there. Then you really aren't asking the right questions there. Like, who the fuck is tweaking shit out here, and why aren't we holding them more accountable? They got us right where they want us. G. Everybody is scoffing amongst each other. Everybody is bickering about vaccinated versus non-vax. It's the same old song and dance with people, man. Sheep being led astray.
I got a story.
Control.
I got a story that hopefully can provide a little bit of optimism before we hop off of here.
Okay.
One of my buddies, he's been on the podcast a couple of times. His name is Tyler. And I think I I didn't mention him by name, but he was one of the people I was talking about. And now I will mention him by name because we just talked about this recently. It was actually yesterday. But the reason I didn't mention him by name the first time is because, one of the last times I talked to him, he was like, I gave in. I did it. I got the vaccine. But just the way that he talked about it, it was like he had been peer pressured into doing something that he didn't really want to do, or
Absolutely.
like threatened, or he was like I feel like the reason he just did it is he was like, I'll just fucking do it, and then maybe they'll fucking leave me alone about it, but
he feels like shit about it.
Well, he came over. He was helping me doing some shit around the house. I met him doing renovation work when I was in between jobs doing renovation work, and so he helps me with some shit around the house whenever I've got things that I can't do on my own. But he said, "You still haven't gotten vaccinated yet, have you?" And when he brought it up, I was like, "Damn, I hope he's not about to like start an argument or something." And he's like all pro-vax now. Fortunately, it went the whole other direction. He was like happy for me and like proud of me, and he was like, I wish I had never fucking gotten it. Now they're talking about these booster shots. He's like, I'm not doing this fucking booster shot shit. He's
sorry,
like,
too late.
He's like, but he's only gotten the 2, I guess, or he was fully vaccinated until they say that you need a 3rd until you're considered fully vaccinated.
Boy, this is gonna be a fun winter with that, G.
But that's what I'm saying is and I feel like there's a lot of people like him that they did it because they were like, just leave me the fuck alone. I'll do it if you just leave me the fuck alone. And now they're not getting left alone. And they're like, I'm not doing this shit. And so just to be an optimist, I feel like there's a lot of people that are seeing the light, so to speak.
They'll one thing Twitter does still do though is the algorithms will put all of my kind of people in front of me whenever I feel like strolling on there. At some point, there are a lot of people that feel how he feels right now. He's not Tyler's not alone. There are a lot of people who did it because oh, my whole family is bugging me, my husband or my wife, or how can I tell my kids to do this but me not do this, and I've got to be an example. But they don't sit right with their spirit. They don't listen. They know what's up inside, man. A lot of people do. It's like with anything else that people have to be fake about. You put the smile on, and but there are very few people, man, who talk and live, how what they believe. Nobody's perfect at it, but there's something we said a long time ago. G, look, there's things that we're open-minded and flexible to as well, but this one is a strong pass.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I think a lot of people really must got me fucked up because they think, oh, you got it. See, now what you gonna do? But do the same fucking thing I've been doing, motherfucker.
It's called natural immunity. You ever heard of it?
Like, actually, now that I've had it and I'm on the other side of it, now I really have no fear in it because I know what's up. Now, I'm not an idiot, I don't want my dad catching something, whatever it is. I don't know, whatever it is. I know that he got a cough. All right. So whatever it is, the cough wasn't there before I left. The cough was there when I came back, and he had it for a while. And I was a little concerned. So there's still things that I'm not dumb about. I'm gonna take my precautions if I go to a concert or something like that because I've got loved ones. But it's still my body. It's still my immune system. It's still my brain. It's still my biogenetics that they want so bad. And
just maybe not to the degree they want.
Yeah, and exactly. They exactly, and that's the other thing. I mean, sometimes I'm like, bro, you already got all our information. What are you acting like? But it's because it's a bigger thing at play here, man. You got to serve the machine learning. You got to serve.
Have you watched Westworld?
I did. You got me on that, and I didn't finish the first season yet, though.
You got to watch that one all the way through. I just finished season 3. I know.
That is I still watched enough episodes that night to know that that's my show. That's my kind of show.
Get back on that.
It's like it's like when I first saw the first season of Black Mirror, I said, "Yo, you got to be kidding me." I said, "This is for me and people like me.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of people to watch this and are going to completely have a different understanding of what we just seen. But you know those shows and movies, G, where you know
psychological thrillers.
Watch the what?
Psychological thrillers.
Psychological thrillers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I will get back to
but Westworld in season 3. I mean, yeah, it's like that. I mean, they need every biometric data point down to the cellular level because they're literally looking, and even Allison talks about it. It's so crazy because she was talking about this shit in my mind. I was just trying to keep up, and now that time has passed,
but now that you've had time to go back and digest it,
she's just been on point after on point after on point.
It was fire, bro. It was fire. Because I've listened two or three. I've listened to you and Ben 2 times. I've listened to Allison 3 times, and I'm telling you, she's on to something, man. It's not even about her being on to something. Like she say, this shit is right here.
She's got the receipts. She's got the receipts. She fucking creates maps of things where it's receipts, connecting receipts. It's like, there it is. You want receipts? There it is. You call me a conspiracy theorist. There it is.
There it is. You gotta love the people that can point to what they're talking about, because that's when people start to shut the fuck up about whatever they're trying to claim or whatever they're trying to pigeonhole or label you so they can just shoo you off. No, bro. But you can't shoot this data. You can't shoot these facts off. You motherfuckers on that side are always talking about science and data and facts
until it's inconvenient.
Motherfuckers on this side have science, data, and facts too. Okay.
Yeah.
The difference is
they don't listen. They don't listen to facts that are inconvenient for their narrative.
Exactly. I am always willing, open, and adapted to changing my mind, changing my opinion. I'm not one of these people that's like, nah, that's what I thought, so that's what it is. No, if new information is presented to me that
you were a Democrat in high school. I remember you were like kind of like super Democrat.
I don't even look. I only voted once, and it was when I voted, I was in college. I wouldn't say I was a super Democrat. I would say that it was popular. It was popular for Black people to like Bill Clinton. Okay, when I was growing up, that's just what it was. The Democrats. That's how the same way that they've created this whole like buy it and say if you're not Black, you're not Black if you don't vote for me. You know, that sort of ignorant thinking is what all of our people have thought for ages.
Yeah.
And that's why when you break free of that bullshit, when you break free of those chains, people start to say, well, I don't understand you, so I got to say that you're a Trumper, or I don't understand you, so I got to say that you're Republican, or you're this, or you're that, or the third, or whatever they try to pigeonhole you because they don't understand you. Because you're not Black because you're not thinking like me. You're not thinking like a fucking slave, so you must not be Black.
Right.
But in reality, bro, those people, bro, come on, man. I feel sorry for them, man. It's not me. I'm very comfortable in my skin at this point. That's what's so beautiful about it.
No, I just bring that up to say, you have it. I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it over the course of knowing you that you change your mind when you're confronted with information that. I'm the same way.
I mean, I voted for Obama the first time. All of that stuff, you know. But think about it. Most people at that age, you don't know why you voting. You don't even know what you're voting about, bro. You vote. The liberals have a great way of pandering to the culture. You know, Kamala get off the plane with some Jordans on or some shit like that. You know, Clinton, Obama, and the boys that throw out a rap verse and oh shit, man, they cool like us. These are rich, filthy rich motherfuckers that could care less about your Black ass and the rest of the people around you. Okay. Simple facts, okay? And people need to understand that. My people need to really understand that because they're going to just keep voting themselves into shit, man. All these democratically ran cities and all of this stuff that stay status quo. It's like people can't see that every major city that's liberally ran is just shit, man. Shit.
Yep.
You want to talk about facts, like present to me something else about that. Show me something different about that. And none of that's going to change until we start to realize the help is not going to be found there. First we got to look at ourselves, all of us.
Yep.
And then, who am I to preach this to people? But I'm just saying, like, I'm not there yet either. But
I'm done with the whole system, man. Like, I don't want to speak down to Democrats without speaking down to Republicans, because fuck them too. And
no, and maybe,
and it's like Bob is like Bob said. He said, "How you conscious running for Congress? Ain't this the same system that puts your people in bondage?" I mean, let's tear this fucking system down. Like, this is
elements to this day, some of the best work since we've been alive. Some of the best work, not just by Bob, in hip hop, in rap, in art, in poetry, in rhyming, and anything that is considered creative. Elements is some of the best work that ears that someone can hear. Now, what I do realize is that depending on what level of this thing you on, you can hear that album and completely miss everything this man is saying. But one thing that I do love,
disagree.
I like what you're about to say.
You can't miss.
Know what you're about to say.
Miss. You can't.
He makes it so
he's direct.
He's direct with it. There's no subliminals. There's no reading between the lines, and you got to study it. No,
he's direct.
He talks it. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
it's pretty straight.
You can't. Direct. You can't listen to that and come away pretending like you didn't hear what you just heard.
Just hear what you heard.
You can. I mean, but at the same, but you're probably better off just cutting it off as soon as you hear that first thing that you don't want to hear, because it ain't getting any better for you. If you on that side of the fence.
Work.
Such don't listen.
Work. Such timeless work. Such great and timeless work. And but anyway, no, that was
I think that lyric was off of Southmatic though, actually.
What?
How you conscious running for Congress? Ain't this the same system that put your people in bondage?
I thought that was on Elements. It could have been on Southmatic. A couple projects after Elements, he still was throwing stuff all in there.
For sure.
The last project, not the last project, but the project before the last project he made, not the cassette tape, because the cassette tape he was kind of getting back to that a little bit. I really wish he would drop that on streaming platforms. But anyway, I know what he was doing about a cassette tape. I get it. But the project before that, he was having his fun. The neon, all of that, all that. He was having his fun. But Bob knows what's up. Bob knows what's up, man. And that, I wish he would just really live in that lane.
Yeah, but what did he say the one time? He was like, he said, "You ain't appreciate my conscious lyrics when you had it."
I know. But at the same time, but I understand that. But he ain't signed to no label no more. He not doing shit for streams right now anyway. So it's like, bro, you might as well just do. You listen. We appreciate it. Me and you and other people that understand what the hell he's talking about appreciate it.
Right.
Come on now. Like, there's people that appreciate that. That's some good work right there.
Yeah.
Man, all four of them. Great work.
The Upside Down.
He got the whole intro. You can hear when you know what's up, G. You can hear that intro and know that he's getting in the elevator going down to the cloning center. And when he gets in the cloning center, the machines that helps the clones breathe until they open their eyes and wake up. He literally is. That whole skit is about. The whole intro is that right there.
Yeah.
You only know that if you know. You don't just guess something like that. I love Elements. And every day, every other month, I'm on Twitter telling him, bro, Elements 2. I will always love and listen to all your work, but we need this Bob more than ever right now. Ever.
But man, just go back and listen to Elements though.
I know.
I mean, that should go back and listen to my was ahead of its time, because if you go back and listen to it now, it makes more sense.
You can go back and listen to that 20 years from now. No, you're absolutely right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
And he dropped the right
That's
after
why
that.
I still bump.
He did Upside Down and Naga, and even Southmatic had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he can do whatever he
he
wants
was
as
on
far
a
as I'm
different.
concerned.
He was in a different place when he was doing Elements, though. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
He was in a different place when he was doing Elements.
Yep.
But yeah. So anyway, man, we did half of this with a completely black, completely dark out here. Hearing the crickets, hearing the night animals and whatever else lives in these woods. Because I'm surrounded by woods back here where I'm at. But it's very peaceful, man, and it's always good to chop it up with you and catch up and and as soon as we get off of this thing, man, I've got something I found that I've got to watch because it's like, yo, I've got to know more, man. I've got to know what's really going on with this. With this, I also got to know for myself because I don't know what kind of you got before you can even start detoxing the body, cleansing the body, parasite cleanses, radiation cleanses. Before you can start doing anything, you got to know what the fuck's going on. You know what I mean? Because the body can always heal itself. It can always overcome, but you got to help it overcome whatever it is that was in it or could come. But before you can even do that, you got to identify what this even really is. I'm not saying that, I mean, with all of this different shit out here, who knows how long that'll take, but I got to try. You know what I mean? Is this radiation? Is this a parasite? Is this nanobots that I mean, I don't fucking know. But I can tell you one thing: nobody's going to talk to me and just simply say it's COVID and think that that's just what it is, and I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, it's just COVID. Okay, yeah, whatever that even is. Like, I need to know what's up. You know what I mean? And that's my like hobby right now. Amongst a couple other things, but I gotta connect things until things make sense to me, and then we'll go from there. But I can tell you what, it ain't coming from Fauci and the boys.
Yeah. No, I don't.
In the Gates boys, it ain't coming from them.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them. But yeah, I think this has been a pretty good episode, man.
Yeah, definitely, man.
You got any
definitely
any closing thoughts?
My closing thoughts are winter's coming, fall and winter. It's been I would say slightly quiet, but they always got something new on the news cycle these days. Now it's the Afghanistan thing, but to me, when they're talking about shit, it's still quiet time right now. So winter does make me I just feel that there's always something up, and fall and winter coming. I just encourage everybody, just to keep your eyes open, stay vigilant, and watch, less of the news and kind of just, I mean, you got to know what's going on, of course, but we always know what's going on. I don't watch the news at all. I always still know what's going on. So you will too. And just keep your eyes and ears open for this winter because, you know, they love to they love playing around the winter time, especially for folks with seasons and stuff like that, and where it's mainly cold at, because that's when it's dark and gray, and that's a good time to psychologically fuck with people. So, um, just that's my closing thoughts. Is just it's just fall and it's winter. Just stay vigilant. So, um, yeah, that's it.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we're gonna aim to do this every Wednesday during the football season. Then we'll maybe switch over to. I can't hear you. Did your mic cut off?
No. I had to shout something to my dad. He doesn't understand how this works.
I got you. Yeah, I said that we're gonna aim to do this every Wednesday during the football season, and then we'll probably aim for Sundays once football season's over. But if you can't get on, I'm gonna get LT on, and I'm gonna aim to put something out every week and keep our story going. We're creating our story, and that's part of what you were just talking about, like not trusting the news. We got to just be the news for each other. and keep it real with each other, and
and
create this thing one homie at a time. And
yeah, man. Yep.
We're doing
That's
it,
what's
so.
important right there. Our folks. Yep.
Hell yeah, man.
As always, G, it's been real, man.
Yeah, good talk. I'll holler at you.
Sounds good. Peace and love, brother.
Love you, man.